Good people. It's your boy, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., and it's another episode. We're getting kind of up there too, y'all, because this is episode 80 of the of the Authors Showcase, brought to you by the National Black Community News newspaper. Can y'all see that? I know it's a glare on it, but the National Black Community News newspaper, which is a newspaper, not just a national newspaper, but a global newspaper that is solution oriented and whose purpose and mission is to just bring you some articles, bring you some information, bring you authors, as we have in the author showcase, that you're not going to readily see anywhere else. So we want to actually welcome you all to this episode of the author showcase. And as usual, we're bringing you some of the, I think, some of the nation's, some of the world's most prolific, authentic, powerful, influential writers, authors, creators that you're going to meet, that you're going to hear from, that you're going to read about, that you can read from, and all of those great things. It's what we try to do with the Author Showcase, and we are proud to have this platform that we give to authors, and give them the ability to be able to talk to you about their mission, their message, their movements, their motivation, all of those great things that make them who they are, as we go beyond the books, as we go beyond as we go beyond who they are as writers and authors and entrepreneurs as well. And today is no different. The young lady that I have here with me today, I'm gonna start off by by reading her resume. Y'all know I usually don't do this. I usually would just let them tell you about who they are. But I wanted to read her resume. So we're gonna mix it up a little bit, and I'm gonna talk a little bit, tell you a little bit about who she is. We're gonna go into our conversation about her book as well, and you'll be fascinated. Trust me, by the book. And for all of my Christians, all of my religious folks, this one is kind of will kind of hopefully help you to be able to deal with you. Y'all will get that in a minute. Don't worry about it. As we delve into her book, and even those that may not necessarily be Christians and of faith or people of faith, but this will assist you in being able to address the sinkholes. Y'all will get that in a minute too in your life, and that you may have, and how to avoid them, how to get out of them, and then how to repair them. So I want to introduce you all to Miss Tiffany Ifon. I hope I'm saying the last name right. Am I pronouncing it right?
It's fine.
she said that's all right. So I know I butchered it. Anytime somebody say no, that's all right. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna let it go. She's a multifaceted creative team player with a love for faith and family. As a result of this love, she is a published author, home educator, life coach, speaker, and has a series of successful ventures and businesses. Tiffany has volunteered with international organizations in different capacities, and is a former licensed director of the largest international homeschool organization. She currently holds certifications in wedding and event planning and design from the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, and 2 life coaching certifications from Transformation Academy, and is a certified book publisher from IAP. She advocates for ongoing training, diversified interest, and opportunities that utilizes skills. When she's not volunteering, she enjoys graphic design, serving her local homeschool community, and spending time with her husband, Ani. Is that how you say his name? Ani? He said, "Goddamn right." An 8-year-old daughter Antoinette, as well as her extended family. So I want to introduce everyone to Miss Tiffany. I ain't saying the last name. I'm gonna let you say it.
It's okay. I'll help you out. No
Yeah,
problem.
help a brother out. Help a brother out. Help a brother out. So welcome,
Hello,
Tiffany. Thank
everyone.
you.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Dr. Leroy, for this opportunity. I'm glad that we were connected by the now Dr. Lady J. So I'm grateful to her for that connection. Yes, my name is Tiffany Ifon, is how you pronounce it. My husband's Nigerian, so I'm a proud a member of the Nigerian Wives Club, but everyone says Ifon, which is fine.
Okay.
And even him being in the military, they call him iPhone. So we've heard it all. We have heard it all. But yes, thank you so much for having me be a part of this great process of the author showcase, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us, and we appreciate you being with us. And we want to actually, I want to start off, if you can. I read the resume, but I want to give people just a little bit more um, of what's not on the resume. If we can start there, if we can.
Okay,
Okay.
sure.
If you can give the audience just one thing that you can think of that's not necessarily on the resume, but gives them just a little bit of like a fun tip. Yeah, just a fun tip, something that they might not know about you that that they won't find on the I say resume on the bio.
Well, I'm definitely a lover of people.
Mhm.
So that is something that I think is consistent throughout everything, is that I'm just a lover of people. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, background, culture, religion. I just really love being around people. I get a lot of energy from that. So yeah, I'm definitely a lover of people.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And that's a great place to start, to being a lover of people. And I think and to be an author or a writer, and I'll start with that real quick. Do you think you have to, in order to be an author or writer, you have to be a lover of people?
I think it starts with being a lover of yourself.
Mhm, mhm,
I think that I know one of the challenges I had when I first started writing was not really believing that anything that I would say is worth someone else wanting to hear or to read. So I had to get past that point to where, being an author, anybody can be an author, anybody can be a writer. It's just a matter of what you're trying to communicate. And usually it's words from the heart or what people are trying to communicate. Um, so yeah, definitely anyone can write and express themselves, but you definitely have to love yourself first, and then you're able to love others.
absolutely, absolutely. And I like that. I like that. I like that. A lover of people. Lover of people. Now, I want to start here. What got you started writing? Because if I'm correct, this isn't your first project. Um, but what got you started writing even before this?
Before this book, of course, people write for school. You kind of forced to write, things that you don't want to write, and then it's like, okay, well, then I just have to do it anyway. So, with me, I was actually encouraged to write by my father. He, at the time, was a founder and publisher of our family publishing company, and he said, "There's no way that a child of mine is gonna is not gonna have a published book and her father's a publisher. That's just not happening."
Wow.
So, and my father is also the founding pastor of a church in Pennsylvania. And he said, so I had to choose a topic and then I had to choose a text, if you know what I mean.
Oh no, my father was an elder, so yeah, I know exactly. I know exactly what you
So I
mean.
had no choice. I had no choice.
Ah,
A topic and a text. That's all I had. So that's how I
wow,
got
a
started.
topic and a text. Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. So if you had to describe your writing, even with, with this particular book and the others that you've written too, what would you, how would you describe your style, the writing style that you might have had?
Very conversational. I would say that if you read my book, you'll feel like I'm talking directly to you. It's a conversation between you and I. That's exactly how I write. So I would definitely say I would use the word conversational would be um, the most accurate description.
Now, does that now your books give people something to kind of, I don't say, something to talk about beyond just sitting down and say, okay, I read it, and then and then put it down. They're like, oh, this is something that I want to talk to others about.
Yeah,
Is that what it is? Well,
yeah.
I can see that just by the title and
Mm-hmm,
we're gonna get to the title in a second about
mm-hmm,
the title of your book. I can
mm-hmm,
see how that, even the title in and of itself, um, would be a conversation piece.
mm-hmm.
And we'll talk a little bit about that a little later, about the
Okay.
title, what that means to you, and how you got to that and everything like that. But I like that you're a conversation starter, if you will.
Mm-hmm,
That means you make people think.
mm-hmm,
To me, that's it. It's somebody that can start a conversation, or is somebody that thinks, is always thinking about, getting people's mind going, and exercising the muscle that is our mind and everything like that. So, um, can you tell us a little bit, what can tell me what made you want to write the book? And here's the title, you all. Here's the title. The title of the book is The Dangers of Sinkhole Faith. The Dangers of Sinkhole Faith. Now, what made you want to write that book?
so after I did finally agree to write something to be published, I have really had to think about what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So at that particular time, my husband and I were going through a challenge, um, and you'll read about this in the book where he, well, we decided that we're going to become a military family.
Mhm.
Right before we had our daughter, we decided, okay, he wanted a change in career. He worked in corporate America for about 10 plus years before deciding, let's try the military. So it was just a whole transition with that. And then having our daughter, we had some challenges. And then, it's just like a whole lot of things happened in a very short period of time. And I felt like that was a good place to start
Okay.
for my first book, because it was fresh, and there were certain details that I could share, and everything was I was able to express, what I needed to express, and then kind of put that in a context where it was relatable to other people, and that they would be able to receive the message that I wanted to share.
Wow. Wow. Now, with that, is that what prompted you? I guess the experiences that you were going through, to be able to. Now, were you writing to? Did you have any idea that your book would help others? Put it that
I thought it would,
way.
but you like never really know until it's out there. So I'm sure you know that, Dr. Lee, where you have a few books out. So it's like, yeah, you write it because you feel like you have a message. And then it's like, but will my message be received? And
Mm.
my experience has been that it has been well received, and really has helped some people, outside of, my immediate sphere of influence. But yeah, it really has helped people kind of reframe some things and look at things a little differently.
Can you tell us a little bit about, what the book is about? Give us an overview of what the book is about.
Sure. The book, The Dangers of Sinkhole Faith, is a practical look at how to avoid certain mistakes. And then if you do make certain mistakes, how to get out of them, how to get out of the repercussions of what has happened. For instance, the importance of having a firm foundation in faith is the key to what this book is about. learning how to have a firm foundation. And so this is not just for the Christian community, this is for the faith-based community. So anybody who believes there's a God, a higher power, someone that they look to,
Right.
then this book is definitely for you. Definitely for you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that hopefully that people understand too. And as I mentioned, I think in the beginning about sinkholes, whether it's a personal faith or just a regular, just a ordinary person, we all have sinkholes that we need to avoid or try to avoid, and a lot of us don't know how to avoid them. We don't know how to deal with them. And then I don't think we know how to, some people don't know how to get out of them. Because
Okay.
like sometimes we're in one of those three states,
Okay.
where we either can avoid them, we're either in them, or we don't, we're trying to figure out how to get out of them. So I want you to, if you can you give an example of what a sinkhole might be for somebody that says, well, what's a sinkhole? What do you mean by what's a sinkhole?
Okay. Well, a very natural definition of a sinkhole, I'll tell you how it's caused.
Okay.
So a sinkhole is caused by water. One definition says that it's water that runs underground that erodes a foundation, um,
Mm.
that erodes a foundation. So in life, if we applied it to life, it would be like, let's say you are dealing with some type of loss. I mean, with COVID and everything, we've all been dealing with a lot of loss, whether it was family members and friends, or whether it was just a loss of freedom. We all had to be in our houses for a long time.
Mm.
Well, those little things can erode a part of you. I mean, it's taken away from something that you've been used to doing, your freedom, your family. It's taken things away from you. And that's kind of how sinkholes start in our life, by things just kind of eroding at us, and it's
Wow.
affecting our faith in certain areas. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that we don't even, and I like your definition of it, and how that applies to our life, because water, while it's one of the most important elements that we need in our lives, because our bodies are made up of majority of water, and the importance of it, but it can be just like fire. If it's not controlled, it can be a dangerous thing. And if we don't deal with, like you were saying, it's an underlying thing when it comes to a sinkhole, because it erodes. If you want to take it like you said, to the person, us on the inside. And to me, you tell me if I'm right in this. It's
Mhm.
in dealing with those things internally as well as externally.
Yes.
And if we don't deal with them internally, then that erodes us mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It can erode us spiritually. Am I right in those types of things?
You're right on target.
Because and I like that, because when we think of ourselves, hopefully people that are listening to this will understand that those elements of who we are mentally, physically, emotionally, we have to make sure that those help, that we're healthy in all those aspects of our lives. Um, because if we're not, and we don't allow ourselves to have those checkups, to have those mental checkups, to have those health, just like we go to the doctor.
Mhm.
We go to the physical doctor, just like you have to take your car to the mechanic to get a tune-up.
Mhm.
All of those things, there, that's what's taking care of the inside.
Mhm.
And that's, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that's one of the ways that you avoid the sinkholes.
Right. Preventative measures.
Right. Because, and I'm glad you said that, because we had this thing. Uh, I worked in the hospitality industry, worked for hotels, and we did this thing, what was called preventive maintenance.
Mhm.
And just like you do on your car, but we did preventive maintenance on the rooms that we had, which meant we had to check the HVA system, make sure that it's working correctly. We had to have a certain time frame. We had to know when it was. We had to flip the mattresses. The mattresses had to be flipped and turned and everything like that. We made sure that the painting, if certain room needed to be painted, repainted or upgrade in the painting. We would do those things. The carpeting was bad. It had to be done. We did all of those things so that you avoid having to do things all at once, where something goes wrong in the room, or the HVAC system isn't working, or what have you, or something else in the room would go wrong, or would happen. You don't want, the last thing you want is for a guest to come into a room, and you got it hasn't been painted, so the painting in the room looks rough. The furniture look like it's been there since 1945. you
Right.
know
Exactly.
it has no appeal to it. All of those things, that's part of that, what we did, the preventive maintenance, making sure that the upkeep of the room, just like we do with our houses, we do with our apartments, we do with our cars. It's that same kind of thing that we have to do with ourselves, with our bodies.
Right.
I had a friend of mine, and I appreciated this. He sent me a message saying, hey, just calling to check on you, to check in with, see how you doing. And that, even that, because like you were saying, there have been all of us have had to deal with the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and all of us are still not okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say that again for y'all. Some of us are still not okay. We're saying that we're okay, but we're not okay. And if you don't want your inside to look like the cover, that's the cover of the book. I know you can't see the whole cover, but that's a sinkhole.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beneath where you see that hole is empty. Like you said, it's not a found. There's no foundation that's there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't deal with your foundation and making sure that you're not eroding on the inside, it can cause you to have these sinkholes. I want you, if you um, can you talk a little bit about what you want the reader to come away with after they've read, the dangers of sinkhole faith? Can you talk about what you want them to come away with?
That there's hope, you know, that this is not like a life sentence, having sinkhole faith. This is something that you can come out of. And there are, solutions and steps in this book that I've written that kind of shares, there are ways, there are steps that act as a guidance to help you find your way out of those sinkholes.
Absolutely. Now, have you gotten what kind of feedback have you gotten from your readers that are talking to you about the book?
So that's a great question. Most of I've gotten a lot of favorable response.
Mhm.
Some people have actually said that my book is good for young people, like I guess
Mm.
like maybe like 20s, like around
Mhm.
there, because
Yes.
that's kind of when you start making stupid mistakes,
Yep.
like
Yep.
you get to
Absolutely.
think you know everything, it's like, okay, I know this, I'm grown now, I can drink, I can drive now, I can rent a car, all those things you can do like in your 20s. So yeah, I've got a lot of great feedback, even like I said, from people from other cultures and religions have
Mm.
really appreciated this book. So
Yeah, and that's key too. Like you said, the younger generation, because when we were in our 20s, yeah, we thought we knew everything, and we weren't thinking about things that we things that we should avoid.
mm,
You know, it was, hey, this is my life. We think that, and I think most of us that were in our 20s, we think that we're indestructible. We
mm,
think that we're going to live forever. We think that there's nothing that can harm us or hurt us,
mm,
um, and everything. And we do things, we can chalk it up to be to being young and immature. But at the same time, if we had these types of conversations, as you said, if we have these kinds of conversations, because the older generation, they tell us, "Oh, be quiet. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about." We did the same. We did the same thing too. Let's be honest. We told it, no, we ain't worried about that. We said the same thing, but now we're in that position that our parents were in when we were trying to give back, pull back into that next generation that's coming up and saying, "Look, I didn't. What's the farmers bank commercial? I seen a thing or two. I've seen a thing or two.
Exactly.
And if you'll just listen, if you just heed to what we're trying to tell you, you can avoid some of these things. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I listened to some of the conversations of that 35 to 20 generation now, and I don't think it's any different than the conversations we had. I think we had those same conversations. It's just not readily out there because they have more technology than we
Right.
did back then.
Exactly.
And I was telling somebody this the other day. I was saying, yeah, we had those conversations, but like it was like me and one of my closest friends, we had these conversations in our dorm rooms. We had them, in our apartments or whatever. We had these
It was
conversations.
private.
Yeah, but they were more private, and we could, we would have those, but now it's more out in the open because of technology. But as I listen to them, I'm hearing what they're saying. I'm like, whoa, y'all ain't got a clue.
Mhm.
Y'all not understanding
Right.
right now. I said,
Mhm.
because, and I'm talking some that were upwards in their, in their mid to late 30s too. So you should know a little bit more than the ones. I'll give you the ones that are in their early 20s and everything like that, because you just don't know. In your 20s, you think you know everything, but you absolutely don't know nothing.
Right.
And we don't figure that out. To me, I don't think you figure that out till your 40s. You be like, you know what? Yeah, I ain't I didn't know nothing. you know. So it's important that when we talk to that generation that you're talking about, that they were telling you that you should that this would be great for, and hopefully with them listening and watching this, they'll begin to understand, wow, yeah, maybe there are some things that I can avoid if I just listen a little bit.
Right.
If I pay attention to what folks are telling me, if I read a book like The Dangers of Sinkhole Faith, I can avoid some of those sinkholes. You know, whatever your faith base is, it's
Mhm.
not just about avoiding the sinkhole face, but it's also just about avoiding the sinkholes in life. Period.
Right.
You know, so I like the fact that you weren't just talking to the Christian community, and that, like you said, this is something that people can talk about globally,
Mhm.
because whether you're here, whether you're in Australia, whether you're in the Caribbean, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in China, there's sinkholes everywhere.
Right. Exactly.
It's sinkholes everywhere.
Mhm.
And it's up to those of us that are the older generation to pour into the next generation. I always say this, that it's every generation's responsibility to make it better for the next generation.
Right.
And I think we do that by having these conversations, like you were saying, and talking about, you know, sinkhole faith, what it is, understanding that, look, you know what, I have a core group of people that I can talk to if I feel like something is not right, if
Mhm.
something's not in my life that I'm going through,
Mhm.
that I need to talk to somebody about. Because you can try and hold on to it all you want to, but it will ultimately, though, that emotion that's inside of you, the body will release it one way or the other. And I tell people, it's gonna do what the body's gonna do what it's gonna do. It has to, you
Right.
know, it has to, and you can do it the easy way, or you
The
can
hard
do it
way.
the hard way, and wind up in a sinkhole. Um, so I like that. Now, what 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 does the title, The Dangers of Sinkhole Faith mean to you? How'd you come up with the title?
That's a really good question. So I have to go back a little bit. When I was in college, I had this English teacher, and in my 20s, late teens, early 20s, and the teacher had this treat for whoever came up with clever titles for their English assignments.
Okay.
So I made it my job to get the treat every time. So I had to beat everybody.
Wow.
Just so I had to be very creative. And I think with this particular title, I was reminded, you'll see this in the book as well. It's like the first story I share about a man who was sleeping in his bed and ended up, his house was swallowed by a sinkhole.
Hmm. Hmm.
His whole entire house, him in his bed, his whole house.
Wow.
And it was a pretty deep sinkhole, but nobody knew like where it came from. And that just reminded me about how life can be sometimes, when if you're not paying attention or even know what to look for, there are certain things that can cause erosion of
Yeah.
your faith foundation, of,
Mm.
like we were talking about earlier, about your physical health, your mental health, spiritual, emotional health. Those are things that, it just kind of stood out to me. So I was like, okay, let me talk about sinkholes, and then how does that go along with having faith? And then it just kind of talked about what the dangers of sinkhole faith are. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I like that. I like that. I can tell you're a competitive person, because you were like, I had to beat everybody out for that treat every single time.
For
I
a
love it.
treat. I know it was
I
bad. It was
love it.
so
I
juvenile.
love it. And I never forget, I had this marketing class in college, and me and my friend to this day, she was in the class as well. She don't remember, but I remember it vividly. But for our class project, we had to do a promotional thing for whatever. It had to be a promotional thing. Well, we decided that we were going to be this company that was doing the promotion of, back then, was Spike Lee's movie School Days, right?
Okay.
So we had to come up with this whole campaign. And like you, I want us to be the best, to be the best in the class and stuff like that. So no lie, we went and we did different parts of the movie, almost like a trailer that
Okay.
we wanted to do. So we actually acted out those little clip parts and stuff like that. So we filmed, we went to the library, rented the video camera so that we could tape it and stuff like that. And it was, you should see it. It was hilarious
I
because
like fun.
we no, it was very fun. Because the funniest one was when, I don't remember School Days, but when they did the wannabes and the jigaboos meet each other in the hallway. We
Yes.
did that. We did that. That was one of the scenes that we did. It was so much fun. And this is how funny it was. We had the teacher laughing. She was even laughing at what we did. So those kind of things, I think that, being competitive and wanting to bring out the best in us so we could see those kind of deal with those things and stuff like that. I think that just, are great. But it triggered you, to be able to say, hey, you know what, I want to do something different that's going to stand out, to people. And that title stands, that's going to grab somebody. The dangers of sinkhole faith. Well, the first question, when I heard the title, I was like, well, what is sinkhole faith? What is it? What does that mean? And that triggered me to say, yeah, okay, that's something that I might want to learn a little bit more about, and be able to, figure out or find out, what sinkhole faith is, and how do I deal with it, or how do we deal with it, and everything like that. So that's great to hear that background behind how you created the title, and actually, now, that's how you created it.
Mhm.
What does it mean to you?
So what it means to me, because I was that 20 something that knew everything and couldn't nobody tell me anything. I could jump off a building, nothing would happen. So this kind of brought me back to that time where you deal with a whole lot of challenges around that time because you're still trying to find yourself, you're still trying to figure out, okay,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to do with my life? That's pretty much like the age where you're like, look, I need to do something
Right.
with my life. And so that was a time that I had to, relive, to say, okay, there's some things I have to heal within myself. And so
Mm.
this book was kind of like also like a healing journey as well, because you
Okay.
make some mistakes and then you kind of hold on to them. And I talk about that in the book as well, about how learning how to forgive, forget, and move forward. So that's one of the steps in my book is talking about those things, because sometimes you have to forgive yourself. You have
Mm.
to forget the things you did in the past, and
Isn't
then
that
you
where that starts though?
it
Isn't
is.
that where it starts? Mm.
Yes. Absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of where that took me. The book kind of took me back to a place that I needed to revisit, and kind of, let some things go myself in order, to move forward.
Wow. Now, can you talk about? Can you give? I want you, if you can. I want you to give 3 steps to building a firm foundation and avoiding sinkholes. Uh, excuse me, in your faith. And then we'll talk about, like you said, the 3 phases of that sinkhole phase, which is, like you said, how to avoid them, how to deal with them when you're in them, and then how do you get out of them. Can you talk about the, let's talk about the first one first. Let's talk about dealing with the building a firm foundation and avoiding sinkholes.
Okay. So one of the things that I talked about was who you hang around with. I learned a long time ago, how they say birds of a feather flock together. What they also say now, in business, is that they can tell you your net worth by the people you hang
Mm-hmm,
around.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, it's certain people that are not going to hang around you if you're not doing certain things,
Right.
or, whether good or bad. So, I mean, if you got friends that do all kinds of things and you do all kinds of things, and y'all get along. But if there are people that, don't do all kinds of things, they're not going to want to they're not going to be with you, because they're not trying to do all those things,
Yeah, yeah.
being very vague in general, but yeah, so it's like we should really be around people who we want to emulate, or that will hold us to a higher standard. So when you are not around those kind of people, it causes problems within you, especially if you've been raised a certain way,
Mhm.
and you're trying to go against that. That's going to cause conflict within yourself, because this is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I'm supposed to do it, but I'm hanging around people who don't,
Mhm.
do what I was raised to do, and that causes problems. There's a conflict there, and that causes an erosion of um of your faith. So that's a part of it. And then I think your other question was about steps, how to avoid it. So one way to avoid it is to be careful who you're around.
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
that's one thing. I mean, people who are in school or in college usually have college friends.
Yeah.
People who are working usually have working friends. People who are just chilling have friends that are just chilling. So you know be around people who where you're trying to go. So company is definitely important. Another way to avoid certain things is to have a relationship, have an intimate relationship with God, whomever you believe in. Having that connection, I think, is important. People of faith understand that there is a connection between them and a higher power.
Mhm.
So having that connection should humble you, should make you want to come into alignment with whatever you believe, to make you a stronger person. So if you're fighting that, that's going to cause erosion, um, spiritually, and then emotionally. I think what's important too is being careful the words that come out of your mouth. I'm the
Mhm.
type of person that really believes that you become what you say you are. If you talk down to yourself, that's how you're going to see yourself. If you speak more highly of yourself, then you'll become that person. So I think words too are very important when it comes to any type of erosion in any aspect of your life. So
Yeah, and it's in my journal each day there's a portion of it and it's almost like an affirmation or a saying. It says I am, and I have to fill in
Mhm.
the what it is that I am. And it just reminds me, every single day I have to, that part reminds me of who I am or who I'm trying to become. And like you said, that's, to me, that's a part of the preventive maintenance
Mhm.
of sin, because if I'm constantly affirming or reaffirming myself that I am, I am an impactor, I am an influencer, I am, I am great, I am a, fill in the blank,
Mhm.
um, and I'm doing that consistently, then no matter what may come, I have that on the inside of me,
Exactly.
and I have the strength to be able to, deal with whatever circumstances come along, deal with whatever situations that I may have to deal with. But at the end of the day, I still know, because I'm constantly feeding my inner self, with those things that I am this or I am that. I want you to, if you can, I want you to talk to that young person,
Mhm.
that young adult that has fallen into the sinkhole.
Mhm.
That I want you to talk to you, the
Okay.
20-year-old, 20-something-year-old you, and what
Mhm.
would you tell her,
Mhm.
um, now that you are, I'm gonna say it like this, the sinkhole faith whisperer.
Right.
But what would you tell her? What do you tell that young lady that
Mhm.
comes to you and says, Miss Tiffany, um, I, I'm I'm in this place and I
Mhm.
need to know how to get out. What would you say to
First, I'd probably say, wasn't that fun? It was dumb, but it was fun. So
her?
now we find ourselves in this situation. I
Mm,
would basically, if I had someone, and I wish I did have someone to tell me, the decisions you make now will impact you for the rest of your life.
absolutely.
So you have to be very careful with what you do, how you do it, and who you do it with, because it's going to come back to you later in life, and you're not going to want to deal with it. There are so many things I wish somebody told me to avoid
Mm,
that I didn't have to deal with now, in my life. It's like, oh my God. I mean, it could be anything. I mean, dealing with regret.
mm,
That's probably like the biggest thing, especially like in your 30s, like, and you're like, dang, all that dumb stuff I did, I wasted all of this
yep.
time worrying, or all of this time doing this, or causing problems over here. I would just tell that I would tell myself that yes, you definitely, need someone to talk to on, some type of mentor. I think mentorship is key, to keep people, young people out of trouble. I think, like I said, having a relationship with God, I think is very important, and being around people that espouse the same beliefs that you do. I know too that as a young person, you want to experiment and explore, and there's a careful way to do that, not being reckless, and disrespecting yourself or anybody. So it's a whole lot in that grouping, that age group that we've all been through.
And I mean, and that's so, like you said, there's so much information that we, as the, I call us the now generation, and
Mhm.
then you have the next generation, that we've experienced, just like our parents. I mean, our parents were, you know, they tried to tell us certain things, and stuff like that, or didn't tell us certain things, and missed the mark on that, and everything. But a lot of what you just said, as far as if you had that mentor that would say, hey, you know what, come on, Tiffany, let's dial it back, you know,
Mhm.
and not just have the mentor, but here's the thing, I want that generation to hear. It's
Mhm.
not just about hearing the information, but it is about listening to it,
Mhm.
because you can hear it all day, but you got to be able to listen to it, so that you, like you said, it might have been fun, but
Mhm.
it was dumb.
Right.
You might say, oh, I enjoyed that. But when you get older and
Mhm.
you look like, ooh, yeah, that was kind of dumb. Why did I do that? Why was I doing that? Why do we even do that? You know, that way, when you are old, it's almost like when it comes to our bodies, and I'll say it like this: somebody that may drink or smoke, you know,
Mhm.
through for their lives. They're doing damage let's say they start in their 20s
Mhm.
and they smoke through their 20s, 30s. Or no, I'm not even going to take smoke. I'm going to say not eating healthy. I'll take it that way. That way I don't offend them. But, I think we all don't eat as healthy as we should. But
Mhm.
we don't eat healthy. We're eating all this junk food, we all these sweets and everything like that in our 20s, in our 30s. And then when we start to get into our 40s and 50s and older, and our bodies begin to break down, and then we want to try and start eating healthy, your body's like, well, no, you beat me up, you know, all of these years, and now you want to feed me this food that that
Rabbit
I'm
food.
not used to eating, that I'm not used to, taking in my body and everything like that. Your body like, what are you doing? You know,
Mhm.
and we have to look at it like that we do or can, if we're not eating right, if we're not doing the right things, um from all of those other aspects, like you said, not just from a healthy perspective, but spiritual, emotional, and all those others, we erode our body. And then if once we get older, we try to, oh, okay, now I want to try and do right. Now I want to try and get the mental aspect of me together, because I done been through all of this, and I've been, troubled, and I've been, whatever, in, so many bad relationships and this, that, and the other. But now all of a sudden, you it becomes difficult. And I've always had the adage of trying to think about not just today, but
Mhm.
like you were saying, thinking about what does that look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. And in that respect, whether it's mentally or any of the other ones that we talked about, so that we do have that right way of life. So hopefully, young adults, listen. If you're in your 20s, if you're in your 30s, if you listen to someone, if you read a book that gives you guidance on how to avoid certain things, or how to keep from having to experience certain things, it's only going to make you better when you get into your latter years or your older years, where you can honestly say, you know what, I didn't have those experiences. I
Mhm.
didn't have to go through that. I didn't go through that. you
Mhm.
know,
Right.
and and you can look back and see other people who have gone through it and be like, well, yeah, see, that's exactly why I'm not, I didn't want to do that. That's exactly why I didn't want to go through that. This is exactly, especially when it comes to relationships, when it
Mhm.
comes to those kinds of things and
I
stuff
got
like that.
stories.
Yeah. See,
I
see,
have stories.
see, see.
I have
So
stories on all of that.
but you got to read the book to get some of those
Better to-
experiences. You got to read the book to get some of those experiences, y'all. But that's the thing. We when we look back, and we can reflect now. But like you said, if we're going to be talking to that next generation, they're like, look, I'm trying to tell you so that you don't have to have some of those experiences. There's some that we just need automatically. We
Mhm.
need to have them, because we got to bump our head against the wall some kind of way in order to learn some things. That's just life. That's just life. We're going to do it. But there are some things, also some things that you won't have to experience if you listen. That's why I've always been adamant about listening to elders. I don't mind. I like to hear the stories.
Mhm.
So I be like, yeah, okay, I got you. I,
Yeah.
I don't need you to tell me that three, four, five, six, seven times, because I get what you're saying.
Mhm.
And I always remember this. And this was some years ago. I went to a men's conference,
Mhm.
and we're on one of the buses taking us to the locations, right? And this young guy, he was probably in his, he was in his 20s or so, which, I think some of us were, but he's popping off at the mouth. He's just running his mouth. And one of the older gentlemen, he said, son, he said, let me tell you something. He said, my your future is my past. And
Mhm.
I've never forgot that. And he was telling me, I've already been where you're going to, where you've yet to go to. And
Mhm.
if you listen, then you'll know how to navigate. And that's what mentors, like you were saying, that's the importance of mentors, because mentors have been where we're trying to get to, or what they've experienced some things that we haven't necessarily experienced, and they can show us how to navigate through them. But
Mhm.
but you got to be willing to listen to.
Right.
Got to be able to listen, as you know. And I get it. We think we know everything in our 20s, you know.
But you're right though. I have this group, I call them my AARP folks,
Okay.
my family members, because I've started receiving those AARP
Oh,
notifications.
uh-huh.
They
Mhm.
send you in the mail. So I'm like, oh man, I'm not ready for that. But okay. So I got my whole group of people, that I talk to, that it's like all of my friends now are like retired or something. So yeah, I hear what you're saying as far as being around wisdom, and that's kind of what we have to seek is wisdom at
Yeah,
every age.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we just have to be willing to listen. Um, why is it important for us to deal with or address the sinkholes?
Because it causes problems in other areas of your life. So like let's
Mm,
say you're not having problems physically, like you're in great health, spiritually, you're on fire for the Lord, as some people would say. But maybe mentally you're just like you're not really taking care of your thought life, you're not
mm,
really taking care of um getting enough sleep, because that definitely like affects your mental acuity.
yeah.
So it's a lot of things like not dealing with the right emotions, and you can't. So there was this one book, this title I remember, this book is out of print now, but it was called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die.
Mm,
And that has stuck with me for years, that there's sometimes what happens is we hold on to things and don't let them go. So if we're doing that, that's causing a sinkhole, it's causing an erosion in in your mental space, and it's just impacting you negatively. So I would say that, yeah, definitely deal with those issues head on so that you can, function more fully and completely.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So so what's next for you? You have anything that you're working on, the thing that you got coming up for people?
Well, if you're talking about writing, then I am working on another book. It's going to take some time because I've been, on and off. But it's basically the next book is going to be talking about offense, how people get offended
Mm,
easily. And one of the things I'm going to be talking about is how this pandemic has caused a lot of friction between families.
mhm.
You got the whole vaccine, no vaccine. You got the whole 6 feet mask, no mask. You got, can we come over for dinner? No.
Nope.
You need to have a COVID test before you come, or you need to have all of those kinds of things. So that's one of the things that I'll be talking about because of the frustration that I had to deal with on all sides of my family,
Mhm.
um, with just that as an offense. So that's just one part of what I'm going to be talking about. But yeah, so yeah, that's the next book I'm working on. But I have some other projects as well that are outside of writing that I'm doing as
No,
well.
let's talk about that because I know
Oh,
you do. Yeah, you do more than just writing. Because I want you to tell me, because you also, I'm gonna let you tell it too. But you're actually a publisher as well, but you're a life coach as well too. So I want you to talk about those other aspects of
right.
what you do too.
So yes, I recently acquired a family publishing company after my father passed away a little over a year ago. And so I've kind of taken the reins, the day to day. So I would say I'm like the COO of the company. So I'm definitely open to hearing people's pitches for their books. Anytime somebody want to share or maybe has some questions, I'm open to answer any questions. Also, since my father passed away, we just recently started the James E. Woods Life and Legacy Council. So we have found a way to continue his legacy. Since he's passed, he was a pastor for over 30 years, and we have his sermons that we're actually converting into text and making
Really?
books
Okay.
out of them. So that's a service that our publishing house now offers, is transcription editing to create books from sermons. So that's a pretty big project for me, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit at a time. And so that's something that I'm doing. And I also sent you the other night the writing that I did for the International Homeschool Magazine. So
And I
that was
read it.
pretty
I read
exciting.
it too.
Oh, did you like
Yeah,
it? Did you?
yeah, I did. I did. And
So,
it's that was it was thought provoking, and I have my perspective on that too because I've heard it wasn't just you. It was a great topic because of what you addressed
mhm,
in it, and there's certain dynamics to it too, especially in this day and time. Like I was telling you, if you listen to that next generation and their, I call it the miseducation of manhood and miseducation of womanhood. A lot of
mhm,
people don't think of it. They don't think about women um, being, being home,
right,
homeschooling, taking care of the kids and all of those things. They don't think of it in terms of, just what it takes to do that one. And then it's more than just that, and you will
right.
need more than just that. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't think about it, and you don't get me started on men who have that perspective that just think that all she's supposed to do is just cook my food, wash my clothes, take care of the kids. Yeah, yeah. We'll talk more about that.
So yeah, the life coaching thing. So um I coach homeschool moms.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's my
Oh
coach.
wow.
And I
Okay.
also, as a part of life coaching, I
Uh-huh.
do vision board planning. So I
Okay.
have people come to my home and we'll actually do vision boarding. So
Mhm.
we'll pull out a poster board and cut out some pictures and have some life goals and put them somewhere and then hang them so that we can see them on a regular basis. So those are some of the exercises that I do with my life coaching clients.
I know, and I like that. I like that. I like that. And though, trust me, those that aspect of life, they a lot of times it goes unappreciated if you ask me. Um, and it's something that's not addressed. So I like that that you are that you're dealing with that and says, hey, here's a group of women that I want to actually show that hey, you can. It's more than just
Right.
yeah, than just being a domestic or just more than just cooking somebody's food and cleaning clothes and washing clothes. Because one of my clients, she wrote, she's from oh uh, which country is she from? Oh, she would kill me right now. But she's from Africa. I'll
Okay.
leave it like that. But she talked that she her book is about her uh, migrating from Africa to here
Mhm,
because she goes from Africa to living in Canada to
mhm,
now living here in the United States, and that journey.
mm.
And she and one of the funniest parts of the book that she talks about was being at home, taking care of the kids and everything like that.
Okay.
and and she had this whole, it's funny because she said she had this whole perspective of you know what it was supposed to be and this that and the other, and then she got to I guess a certain part of it where she was like, look, mama need a break, mama needs to
Uh,
it's like no, this ain't what it's cracked up to be. And she was like, she said she even told her husband, look, you need to be helping with these kids too, because I ain't the only one that made them.
Well,
But
see, in Africa though, well, my husband was born in Nigeria
uh-huh, uh-huh.
and he immigrated here when he was a young child, but he said that back home they had help.
Right, she said the same thing. She said
Yeah.
if she had stayed home, but she was talking about when she got here. She was saying
Mhm.
if she had stayed home, it'd have been fine, everything would have been cool. She said, but trying to do that here when it was just her.
Mhm.
she-
Yeah.
so yeah, she does talk about that. That I guess their culture in a lot of the African cultures, they have those systems in place where people systems in place
Right.
that can help them out a family, whether it's a family member or whatever that can assist you with with the kids. But Yeah, she was like, she got a culture shock being 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 here and everything like that. I said, yeah, I said it to be a single mom or to be a single dad, it's a, it's not easy.
Mhm.
It's definitely not easy. So yeah, so I like that you address that. Do you have anything with that coming up, or how can let's do this? How can people connect with you, contact you? One, to buy the book, and then for the other services that you just talked about that you
I
have.
don't know. Let me see. I have my I think I did like a PowerPoint or
Yep,
something.
I got it. Yep, let me
Okay,
see if I
yeah,
can
it
put it
has
up real
some
quick.
information on there.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's a number of ways to catch up with me. I'm not really like the social media person, but you can find me on Facebook under my name, Tiffany Ifon.
Can you see
Just
that?
yes. You guys can just take a picture of that and that'll that'll be it. But yeah, I'm available for small women's groups. I say women's groups because that's kind of who I relate more to, but I'm open to, mixed groups or men's groups, but primarily I stick to women's groups. I coach homeschool moms and I'm available for like Zoom conferences or Zoom groups or anything like that. I kind of stay close to home, even though I do live in Maryland. I travel a lot up and down the East Coast. Like for instance, in August, I'll be in Georgia for about 3 weeks to a month.
Oh
So I
wow,
try
okay.
to be as flexible as possible because on the back of my book, and you'll see this, I actually published a book while I lived in Georgia.
Hmm.
So the information on the book was when I lived there. So I go back there frequently because I have a lot of connections down there. So yeah, this is my information. This is how you can catch up with me. Dangers of Sinkhole Faith is available in major retail markets. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere that you would purchase your books, it's available there. And or you can get them from me. Drop me an email, let me know if you're local in the Maryland area. I'll gladly meet you somewhere, drop them off. You can order them from me. I would prefer that.
Absolutely.
For a lot of reasons, but yeah, definitely give me a call, send me a message, email, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I'm available. So yeah.
Now, the course that you do uh for the stay at home mom, is that a like a is that a program that you developed for them where you take them through certain, you know?
So I do have a program,
Mhm.
that a life coaching program, but the
Okay.
activity that you're speaking about, the vision boarding,
Mhm.
is something that we do. We did one a few weeks ago, and it's something that I've always done growing up because I felt like, if I had something in front of me, that I would definitely remember it. And most of the things that I put on my vision board as a young person, I have. And so I think it's only maybe like one one or two things that I don't have yet, but everything else I pretty much have. Like one of the things I wanted to be married,
Mhm.
happily married for almost 13 years. I wanted to be a mom. I have an 8-year-old girl. She's gonna be 9 soon. Um, I wanted there's a whole lot of things.
Mhm.
There's a whole lot of things. But I have, all the things that I wanted pretty much. So now I have to come up with new goals and dreams. And even
And, and
Steve
uh,
Harvey talks about it too.
yeah,
Talks
and I like that because I was reading in this book called The Secrets of a Millionaire, and
Mhm.
the author says, and I've never forgotten this, and I never will. It says, whatever the mind focuses on expands.
That's it.
And like with you using the vision boards, and I think that's the purpose of the vision boards, because it gives people something to focus on, or to be with. I've always said, what the mind thinks, it will go after. So
Exactly.
if we're constantly putting something in our mind, and if we're constantly showing the mind something that it has to work towards, I truly believe that it will do that. It does that actually. So that's great. That's great. That's great. So you all see the contact information here. Um, you can connect with Tiffany. I'm told you I'm not saying that last name. I ain't gonna have your husband come to
Just
find
say
me.
Ifon. Ifon is fine. Everyone says Ifon, so it's fine. Nobody gets upset.
But this is how you can connect with her. Her publishing company is Prime the Pump Publications. You can connect with her at 240-351-3032. She's also on social media, and the email address as well is on there. So all of those places that you can find her, connect with her. You can get the book as well too. You want to go get the book, The Dangers of Sinkhole Faith. You certainly want to get that. And especially if you are a young adult. If you are 18 to 35, 18 to 40, this is certainly something that you want to pick up, because it will give you hopefully some guidance as to the things that you can avoid, or that you won't have to deal with being a young adult, or experience as a young adult, if you avoid the sinkholes, and if you do those things to prevent you from having to have sinkholes when you get into your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s. Because it's still folks, Tiffany, it's still folks in their 40s, 50s, and 60s dealing with sinkholes that they haven't dealt with. So, so I want to thank you again for joining me. Stop this.
Thank you so much
I
for
want to
having me.
thank you. I told you the conversation would. I told you it would go by fast. I told you
It
it
did
would.
go by fast.
But thank you for joining us. This has been another episode of the Author Showcase in the National Black Unity News. First time I held up the front page. This, you can see, that's her book right there. It's in the latest issue of the National Black Unity News Author Showcase, where you can pick it up. You can go to www.tnbun.com and subscribe to the newspaper. It's a quarterly newspaper. You can get 4 issues for just under $20. So it's not going to cost you much. It can get delivered right to your door. You can go to the website and actually get the digital version of it as well, if you want to do that. But certainly you want to do that. You want to get your copy, no matter how you get the copy. You want to make sure that you have a copy, because it's more than just about the Author Showcase. The National Black Unity News has, I promise you, it has some articles in there that you're not going to readily read about, discuss in mainstream America, because this isn't what they're talking about. This isn't what we're talking about in the newspaper. It's going to give you stories that are going to inspire you, that are going to uplift you, that are going to give you knowledge, information, and resources that you aren't readily going to hear about. So my name is Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow. I actually have another episode of the Author Showcase that's going to be coming in. We're going to have author James Tyler that's going to be joining us for the showcase. We're going to be talking with him about his book that's actually in here as well. And his book is entitled That Dance We Do. Y'all, I haven't read the overview for that one, Tiffany. I'm like, it's a fiction book. I'm like, ooh-wee. This is about these four friends. And one of them is that good brother. The other ones are players from the Himalayas. So it's about their experiences of being players. So so tune in tomorrow as we talk with Brother James Tyler. He's gonna be joining us. But Ms. Tiffany, thank you so much
Thank you
for
so
coming,
much.
talking with us. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. This has been fun. Like I tell y'all, each and every time that I have the author showcase and I talk with these authors, I always learn something, always gain something from them. And it's an honor and a privilege to be able to bring these individuals to you. So hopefully you're better after this conversation than you were before this conversation, because that's my goal. That's the National Black Unity News goal, is to make us better. So I'm Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., and we will see you all next time.